Hello, second grade. Yesterday we learned how to write our first three phonograms and we learned the sounds that they made. So we're going to learn some more phonograms today, but before we do that, we're going to practice using the phonograms that we know to read, to write words, and then we're going to be able to read them. So we're going to write a couple nonsense words. So that means we can write it and we can read it, but it doesn't actually mean anything in the English language. But it helps us, writing nonsense words helps us work on those skills and practice our reading. All right, so the first word that we are going to write is og. Class, what's our word? Good, og. Now, before we write, we have to find out what the sounds are. So we have to take our word apart. It's all together, and we have to take the sounds apart so we can write each of those sounds. All right, so in the word og, what's our first sound? Good, aw. And our second sound? Good, g. All right, so now we're going to write that word. So write aw and write g. All right, as soon as you have the word og written, put your pencil down. What you're going to do now is you're going to tell me how to write og, and I'll write it up here. So put your finger under the first phonogram in your word og. What does it say? Good, it says ah. And what's the next sound? Good. All right, does your og look like mine does? If you did, that's excellent. Now we're going to practice reading it. Before we do that, so far all the phonograms that we've learned have more than one sound. So we know some of our phonograms just have one sound, or we know that if we were here before. So some have just one, but some have more than one. So when it comes to a phonogram with more than one sound, it's only ever going to say one sound when it's in a word. It only ever says one sound when it's in a word. So, and each phonogram usually says its first sound. The first sound comes first because that's what's used the most often. So even though we know that this has three sounds, we're just going to say one, and we're always going to go with the first one first. All right, are you ready? Let's say our sounds and then we'll put them together. Good, aw. Good, g. Now let's put them together. Og, og, og. Good. We just wrote and read our first word of second grade. Excellent job. All right, now let's write the word awk. What sounds do you hear in the word awk? All right, good. I hope you said aw and then k. All right, aw, k. So you'll get ready. Oh, I'm sorry, put your pencil down. So this was a word. Even though it isn't a real word, it's a nonsense word, and so we're going to treat it like we would when we're writing any other word. Whenever we're writing a word and we get to the end of that word, we always leave a clock space. We call it a clock space because it's about the space. It's the same size as a clock stroke. All right, so you don't have to worry about putting your finger down or anything. It doesn't have to be that precise, but you know how big a clock stroke is? So leave about that same space after you finish every word. We don't want to start our word way over here, our next word, because that would waste paper. But if we start it here, then it looks like it's all one word. So we always want to leave a clock space after we write each word. All right, so sorry about that. We're going to write awk. What were the sounds in awk? Good, aw, k. All right, so go ahead and write those sounds. Say the sounds while you write it, and then put your pencil down. All right. Now it's your turn to tell me how to write awk. What am I going to write? Good, I'm going to write aw. And what's next? Good. All right, make sure your awk looks like mine. If it doesn't, you can pause the video and cross it out and make it look like mine. If you do that though, make sure you say the sounds while you write them. Don't just write them, say the sounds, and it builds connections in your brain. Okay, now let's read the word we wrote. So we'll read each sound and then we'll put them together. Good, aw. Good, right? Let's put them together. Good, awk. One more time, awk. All right, well, we have been able to write and then read 2 nonsense words with the just 3 phonograms that we learned yesterday. So that is just a fantastic start. Let's see. All right, let's write one more word using those 3 phonograms we learned, but this one is actually not a nonsense word. It's going to be a real English word. So this word is cog. Class, what's the word? Good. All right. Now a cog is, let's see, well, it's a part of a machine. And we'll learn later in 2nd grade about simple machines, right? So a cog is a special wheel that has teeth and that moves other wheels, and so they're in clocks and machines. And it's not a word you probably use very often, but it is a real English word. All right, so cog. Tell me what sounds you hear. Oh, great. What I heard you say was k, ah, g. Those are our sounds. So leave a clock space after your awk and write the sounds you just told me. Say the sounds while you write them. All right, if you need another second, go ahead and pause the video. But if not, go ahead and tell me, what sounds do I need to write to spell cog? Good. Aw, good. All right, excellent job, class. Make sure your word looks like mine. If it doesn't, go ahead and pause it and fix it. Now let's say the sounds that we wrote and then put them together to make a word. Let's see. All right, I'll do it with you this time, but pretty soon all of you will be doing it on your own. Good, it's k, g, and then we put them together. K, cog. All right. Excellent job, boys and girls. I'm really proud of all the work that you've done so far. Let's see, so what I want you to remember from this lesson, we always leave a clock space between our words when we're writing them. And in each English word, even if the phonogram has more than one sound, it can only say one sound in a word, and it usually says its first sound. Okay, we'll be back later to learn some more phonograms.